let's start our keynote, or PowerPoint as it's known in PC world. Here we go. All right, so nice calm start to the class. Right, so pause to reflect. It's nice. It's very stressful, especially the beginning of a term that's never happened before. We've never come out of a pandemic and all been at home and everything. So there are so many things to be patient for, which we're learning. Okay, so apply yourself, do the best you can, and we'll get through it, and you'll gradually get used to it. All right, so this is a very brief video just to explain a short chunk, which is on page 5 and page 6. Yeah, just page 5 and page 6. Right, let's go ahead with the prayer. May the wisdom of the all-compassionate one so shine within our hearts and minds this day, that we may be enlightened in our acts, thoughts, and deeds. So shall we learn to be true, good, and happy, and attain spiritual peace. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. Okay then, let's get going. Now, yeah, we're on the rediscover exercise, the human intellect and the free will. We've just come to the end of the reading section on that. And the last sentence we came up to there was, let us not forget that we have the mental faculty and freedom to decide and act, but we should be accountable for everything that we do. And that's the main summing up of the, the class, the lesson there. So now, as you notice, we've got a performance task that's inserted there that doesn't show up in the book, in the PDF. That also says page 4, and it's not page 4, it's page 5. Yeah, as it says in the green box. So this table you're going to need, okay? Now, essentially, you're going to get a newspaper clipping, and that newspaper clipping describes a problem. A problem, yeah. And second column, it describes somebody using freedom in the wrong way. And that has, in the third column, an effect on some other people. Yeah? So the main problem, I'll give you an example. Say men in a Middle Eastern country are treating women like prisoners, all of the majority of the men. Right? So there's your main problem. Main problem, women complain because men treat them like animals, say, for example, there it is. So then the second column, what's the problem? Men are misusing the freedom of being a husband, their power, and they're not respecting the rights of women. So what is the effect to the fellow men and the environment and others? Misery, suffering, anger amongst 50% of the population. Really clear? That's basically it. So you're going to do that though as a group. Okay, so now we're going to go in detail. We're going to do the breakout groups on the messenger, and you're going to work together as a team to come up with the best way to create a chart that lists those 3 things, and you're all going to present it as a skit. Anyway, that's the summary. So now then, moving on. Your group activity. Okay, I'd like you to find ways to divide the class into being composed of 5 groups, composed of 5 members each. That's the word, groups. Composed of 5 members each. Actually, I will have done that for you, so you don't need to figure it out. Each group must get a copy of the following article I'll display, and you may have to use screenshot and then use that. Actually, when this happened, I screenshotted them and sent them to the groups that I'd made. So as I say, this was a first time, so you get the idea. We're sort of working out a bit out as we go along. It's new. These are all new methods, creating groups, not in the group chats, and how to disseminate, how to give the newspaper clipping. Right, so here's the first one. So this went to group 1. Now I'm going to read it through. So there's the newspaper article. See the angry man? See his wife? See the man turning round? The man turning round is a reporter. And the headline is The Supreme Court Battle Over Privacy and Press Freedom. The newspaper reporter on the left with the white shirt and the tie had been abusing his freedom by turning the problem of the family that happened into like everybody in the whole country was looking into their house kind of thing, into their private life. So the question I'm going to read the text now. Does the press have the right to revisit a story, a real life story, throwing renewed light on a private family and exposing them to unwanted attention without their permission? Yeah, that's the important thing. Perhaps they just want to move on. When do ordinary people lose their right to be left alone just because they have been involuntarily thrust into the limelight by the news media? Limelight means they have a lot of attention on them. So when do ordinary people lose their right to be left alone just because they have been involuntarily thrust into the limelight by the news media? So this is a bit like with Princess Diana, where the press, the media, suddenly thought they had, the right to be able to just be filming and photographing her and make, like 24/7. And she really was asking them, please leave me alone, leave me alone. I'm shy, I just want some privacy, but they didn't. And they made her life a hell. So what qualifies as sufficiently newsworthy to allow the press to expose the private lives of private people to the glare of publicity, and who gets to decide? So here's the story there. In 1952, in the affluent, that means rich, Philadelphia suburb of White Marsh Township, James Hill and his family were held hostage by 3 escaped convicts, 3 prisoners. So after 19 hours, the fugitives, the prisoners, stole some clothes and a car, leaving the family unharmed. That was it. It was over. But the Hills, the family, became the subject of international media coverage. And eventually their ordeal, this big problem of theirs, led to a best-selling novel. Somebody wrote a book about it, entitled The Desperate Hours, followed by a Broadway play and a big-budget movie and a photo spread in Life magazine. So they might have just been wanted to no attention at all, but the way it happened was everybody just made this big noise all about them, and so that might have been very, very traumatizing for them. So there's the question. So back here, what's the main problem there? And what is man's misuse of freedom and the effects to the fellow man, environment, and others? So we're not talking about what the prisoners did with the kidnapping. We're talking about something else. Okay, so group 2, your one. Nixon is President Nixon. He was recording his phone. He was recording his offices, And the headline says, Nixon wired his phone offices to record all conversations, and the senators will seek the tapes. So all the phone lines, people thought they were having a private conversation, all those tapings, and they were going to be listened to. So Washington, August the 8th. This was in 1972. 1972. No, 73, 72. A lot of things damaged President Richard Nixon's standing, but it was the tapes that delivered the mortal blows, the thing that killed him. It didn't actually kill him, but it stopped his presidency. Mortal blows to his presidency, and that finally drove him from office in disgrace. The very existence of the secret system designed to record the president's conversations, made known in Senate testimony in July 1973, raised widespread doubts about Mr. Nixon's judgment. It also led to one wrenching confrontation after another, from the abrupt dismissal of the Watergate Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox in October, to the Supreme Court order forcing disclosure of key recordings in July. So a wrenching confrontation is a huge fight, and it also, the abrupt dismissal, the sudden firing of Watergate, all of this investigation into whether the president had been secretly recording conversations was called Watergate, after the building where the tapes were kept. And actually, it got worse because the president secretly hired some people to sneak in at night into that building to steal the tapes. And all the time he was saying, no, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it. And then it turned out that these people were, discovered trying to steal the tapes, and also were being paid secretly. Okay, so there's that. So what is let's go back to the table. What's the main problem? And someone in there is misusing their freedom. Who's that? And what is the effect to the fellow men and the environment, like all of society? What's the effect when all that's going on? All right, so group 3. So in your group, you're going to discuss, you're going to make that table, you're going to fill in those things, and then you'll fill in those 3 boxes. And then one of you's you're going to do the skit there. I just want to check there is a skit. I just want to check on the instructions here. This is the instruction here. Groups, I would like you to present your chart to the class, and we'll find the best way to do this at time. I would like to give the groups 2 new insights about the proper use of freedom and accountability. Oof. Okay, it doesn't have a skit. Group 1, forget I said skit. It's not. It's just presenting your chart to the class. I hate it. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's just presenting the chart. Let's move on to group 3. So discrimination against LGBT students in the Philippines. Schools should be safe places for everyone. But in the Philippines, LGBT students too often find that their schooling experience is marred by bullying, discrimination, lack of access to LGBT-related information, and in some cases, physical or sexual assault. These abuses can cause deep and lasting harm. So there's the newspaper clipping. So, what's the main problem? And who's misusing their freedom? And what is the effect to their fellow men and the environment and others? clear. So you can screenshot this as well as the table and then get on. And then you're just going to, what are you going to do? You're going to present your chart to the class using a group chat and then copying that over. So you can also make something like I'm making here, which is a presentation with your chart, and then that movie we can share on the group chat. Next one, group 4, Saudi Arabia, 10 reasons why women flee. Earlier this year, Rahaf Mohammed, a Saudi woman who managed to successfully flee her allegedly abusive family, shed new light on the countless women trapped under the abusive male guardianship system in Saudi Arabia. Though the government has lifted or modified some of the system's cruel restrictions, many remain in place. Got that? So, back to our table. What's the main problem? Which misuse of freedom is shown here, and what is the effect to fellow men or the environment and others? And next, group 5, the Rohingya crisis. Since late August 2017, more than 740,000 Rohingya Muslims have fled Myanmar back to Bangladesh to escape the military's large-scale campaign of ethnic cleansing. The atrocities committed by Myanmar security forces, including mass killings, sexual violence, and widespread arson, amount to crimes against humanity. Now the Rohingya refugees face new dangers in overcrowded camps. Okay, so what's the main problem? Some humans are misusing their freedom, and what is the effect to fellow men, environment, and others? All right, next, group 6. So, human rights violation, violence against women. I'm looking at the headline of the newspaper there. Violence against women, human rights violation. And under the picture it says, violence against women is human right abuse. And the box says, violence against women will be the next issue to be challenged in courts, say activists. And the headline, yes, South Africa, decriminalise sex work. Sex workers in South Africa face arrest, detention, harassment and abuse from police, which also deters them from reporting rape and other brutal attacks. All over the world, Human Rights Watch and other rights work groups find the same patterns of abuse where sex work is criminalized, so that, yeah, you understand that. Okay, so there's the article and a summary. So with that one, what's the main problem? Some people are misusing freedom, and what effect is it having to their fellow people, the environment, and others? Got it? Okay, so those are the articles, 6 groups. So students, you need to complete the following chart for your newspaper clipping. And then groups, I would like you to present your chart to the class, not as a skit, but as just a regular presentation. And we'll find the best way to do this with the equipment we have at the time. So currently I'm suggesting Messenger, Messenger groups, and probably I would say we'd do something like I'm doing here, which is speaking to the screen and recording it. And one of you does that. You make a presentation. That's one way to do it. You're going to need to show the chart. So there's that. You might want to insert a little box with your video image. I would like the group to give 2 new insights about the proper use of freedom and accountability. Okay, I would like the group to give 2 new insights. When you do your presentation, 2 new insights about the proper use of freedom and accountability. That's an important additional part. So it's kind of 3 parts to the exercise. Present the chart, give insight number 1 and insight number 2 about the proper use of freedom and accountability. Okay, and then you're going to go on to the acrostic brainstorming, and that starts on the next on the next video. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to call up the closing prayer part, just to round off this particular video. Reverend Leader, we pray to Thee, the Holy and Perfect One. We earnestly resolve to understand Thy teaching and to daily tread Thy path. So shall, like Thee, we may attain the peace of Nirvana. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya.